anyone who comes to this field, you have to fake it till you make it. Because knowledge is power. The more you know, the less scared you are doing the task. Definitely be more confident and then be honest, right? Don't try to fake it too much, okay?
Hi everybody, welcome back to the Sigma School podcast. And today we have Sebastian with us. Hi Sebastian, could you please give a quick introduction about yourself?
Sure, my name is Sebastian. I'm born and raised from Miri, Sarawak. And about me, there's a lot of interesting things. I think one is, actually I did not start as a programmer or a software developer. I actually started my study career as a mechanical engineer.
Okay.
But then I dropped out in my third year. And since then, I jumped ship to IT, where the boom is right now.
Okay, so now that we are with the interesting introduction, the theme for today is your path to software development. It's going to be a very interesting path looking at where you came from. So just a couple of starting questions first. Sure. First question, why did you pick tech? Why not something else, but why tech?
Since young, actually even since I was in high school, I always have interest in computers. When I was in Form 1, I started to pick up formatting computers. I learned it from a friend. So since then, it got so bad till every time my dad bought a new desktop or a laptop, I always tend to format it. So I like the fact that I get to play around with the BIOS system. So whenever we format, right, we need to do this partition, we have to install Windows. And I tend to play with dual boot or triple boot. So I was boot like Windows 2000, Windows XP, and then at the time was I think Windows Vista. Yeah, so that's where I started to have the liking in tech. So as I grow older, I also, I didn't learn programming till I did my foundations in engineering.
And that one was when you were how old?
I think that was fast forward until I was 18.
Okay.
So I started with C actually.
Oh.
Yeah, actually C++. So at the time, I had no interest in programming. Yeah. So what happened was when I when I didn't get through my mechanical, it was a very bad time for me. It's a very hard time. I disappointed my parents, some of my friends who keep pushing me that you can do it, you can do it. So IT was in some way a redemption for me. Yeah.
That's really good. It's really nice to see like you're already enjoying it now. You can see good energy, vibrant energy. Okay.
But it wasn't easy, that I can say that, yeah.
But that's what makes the journey better. It's enjoyable, and through the hard times, you really appreciate what we have now.
It makes it interesting, as I can say. Yeah.
Can't wait to hear more.
Sure.
Okay, the next question. Why can anybody do it? Why anybody can do tech?
Maybe before I answer that, I believe tech, anyone is welcome to try tech. But at the same time, it's not for everyone. You need to have a certain kind of thought process or the way of thinking. And I think also, to a certain extent, how to say this, you need to have a liking to it or be enthusiastic about programming or tech. So in this world, everything now is digitalized, and we can't live without it. Even paying now, certain shops, you are required to know how to use an app, touch and go. Some shops don't even accept cash.
Most
shops nowadays, right? So they're encouraging tech. So although tech is for everyone, but at the same time, it may not be for everyone as well.
Yeah, I definitely get what you mean in the sense that anyone can do it. If they put the time, if they enjoy it, if they have effort or they have a goal, they can do it. But not everyone can do that.
Exactly. I've seen a lot of friends. I actually shifted from mechanical engineering to software engineering courses. So what I can share is in my first semester, right, the intake was about 120 at the time. That was semester 1, right, before the semester even started. And then after the first week, it got cut down to 100.
Just in the first week?
First week,
wow.
Yeah. In the middle of the semester, when it gets tougher and we delve deeper into the programming contents, it slashed all the way to 60.
Wow.
And by the end of semester 1, we only have 50 peers.
And did all those 50, everybody graduated or?
No. Perhaps 80%. Wow. So in the second, third year, some of them drop off.
Yeah, I think it's definitely not easy. So now that we're all here, we're like, it wasn't an easy journey.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. It was something, to us now it's special because we're here now.
I think for those who didn't even get through to the end, I believe it's also beneficial for them because even though they didn't complete it, but I believe they learned something from it as well.
Of course.
So
Agreed.
I believe what I can say is that you may not complete your studies in computer science or software engineering, but I believe you learn how to tackle or solve problems in a certain way or certain method. Yeah.
Was it the same for you as well? Because you didn't get to complete your electrical engineering
It's
degree?
mechanical, yeah.
Or mechanical engineering,
Yeah.
sorry. But do you manage to learn a lot from that journey as well?
Definitely. Although I only stopped in the third year, but while I was there, I learned how to be an engineering student. So the way of thinking, the way of how I, do things, right? It's more structured. And then as an engineer, we are problem solvers. So we tend to think, critical thinking, right? Think, how should I solve this? What's the problem? So it's more structured in that way. Yeah.
That's very good. Okay, next question. Why do you pick tech now? What makes it different? Why didn't you do it maybe 10 years in the future, 10 weeks later? Why now? What made the change?
Maybe I'll start. Why not earlier? Why didn't I take tech
Even
after
earlier.
after SPM?
Okay.
So actually, it's due to where I stay. I'm from Miri, right, Sarawak.
Yes, correct.
So the closest university to my home was Cretan University, right? It's an engineering university. So at the time, my parents didn't want me to go too far. They said, "Why don't you just go to Cretan?" Okay. So when I look at the courses that they offer, it's only engineering or business. So I had limited choices, and I really want to come over to West Malaysia or maybe even to other countries. But number one is financial issue, so they can't really bring me further. So because of that, I can't really choose tech at the time, although I have, I really like it. Yeah. Actually, I even told my parents before choosing or before getting into Katin was, I wanted to be a computer engineer where I learn both hardware and software.
Okay.
Or either one would do or suffice.
As long as it's within the computer realm.
Yes. So that's to answer the question before. Now, why not in the future? Actually, the golden time for us to take this or to be a part of this was 2018, 2019, when it's quite new. At the time, being a full stack was very easy.
Yeah.
Right? They will take, as long as you know programming, they'll take you.
Correct.
But nowadays, when you try to search for jobs, right, it's not as easy as how it was a few years back then, because they want a lot of things, right? It's not just front end, back end. You need to know DevOps. You need to know, a little bit of data science. And even now, the criteria has even increased.
a
Gen
lot
AI.
more.
You have Gen AI and also cloud computing. So why not in the future? Because the criteria or the requirements might be even harder.
That's very true. It's always changing. So I think here at Sigma School, or when you were here as a student as well, maybe the course was around 3 months. I think back when I was in uni as well, I was there for 3 years. I was a COVID student actually.
Okay.
So by the time I came out, ChatGPT just got released. So everything I learned was gone.
Okay.
The only thing I could keep with me was the theory of the problem solving skills, which really did help a lot. But I felt like if I came for a bootcamp instead and learned how to think, get my own projects out, that would have been a lot better than 3 years of, I wouldn't say wasted, it was fun and all, but everything was outdated by the time I came out. So that's one issue with what I have with uni right now.
Coming from both paths, I went through uni and I also went through bootcamp. I'm able to see the difference on how we can learn. Uni is the more conventional route, right? Where we go for lectures, we have tutorials and workshops. And the way we would learn it, it's, I would say, longer, but in bite-sized pieces. Right, so maybe week 1 you only learn variables, and week 2 you only learn functions.
Correct.
Week 3 conditional logics, right? And the languages they teach there may not be something we would apply in our job. For example, in unis they either go for like Java or C# or C++, right? Depending which uni you go. Rarely they would start off with HTML, CSS, or JavaScript, or even React. But as opposed to traditional way of teaching, which is in university, bootcamp, it's more hands-on. It's like a hand-picked sort of concepts and topics, more related to real-world projects, right? So we have React for front end, and then back end we have Node.js. So even if we go through this for 3 to 6 months, we have a taste of how it is like in the real world or real life. So I think it's a fast track compared to uni. That's what I can
Definitely.
compare.
Job ready skills.
Yeah.
But in terms of, I think for uni actually, if you really want to be an expert, super good at your basics and all, that's probably a very good place because it's like 1 week you learn one subject.
Yes.
But I guess if you are in the middle of a transition of your career, going to uni 3 years at maybe like 25, 28, 30, it's not the best choice, honestly. Because by then you might have your commitments. You're like,
That's true.
yeah.
That's true. Yeah. So I do have friends in their 30s or even late 20s that they are doing part-time as well, part-time degree in
Okay.
computer science.
Okay.
And yeah, some of them do mention that they struggle because at that age, most of them are married or they have commitments, right? So it's a bit hard to how to say, juggle between work and studies.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of our goals here at Sigma School is where we want to be able to help people not only transition fast. I think the education depth is a lot as well because you pay. I'm not too sure what the degree courses are nowadays. Maybe it's like 40 to 100K or
Yeah,
something like
around
that.
that,
Yeah, so I find it's like it's not accessible to everybody and it's long as well. So it's not suitable for everybody, but that was the only choice they had back then. So
Yeah.
we're trying to come up with alternatives as well.
Yeah.
Because personally, I did my master's
Okay.
while I was working full time.
Alright.
It was one of the worst experiences I ever had.
How was it for you?
It was terrible because it was a 9 to 6 job as a data scientist.
Okay.
And Saturday, Sunday will be a 9 to 7 class with assignments and projects as well to do on the weekdays. So it's like not enough sleep, no social life. Thankfully, I had no commitments at that time, so it was alright.
I think if anyone opt to do extra studies or part-time, right, the main job needs to be very chill or relaxed.
Yeah.
If you have a heavy workload and then you're doing, your master's or part-time degree after work, it's very hectic.
Correct. That's very true.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the answer. Next one. Where are you right now and what are you doing?
I'm actually in my 4th job at the moment.
Okay.
Let me see. Yeah, first one I work for a Singaporean company. I did WordPress for 3 years.
Oh, okay.
Right? So I started as an intern over there, and then 3 years later, I climbed up from a junior WordPress developer to a senior, right? And then after that, I shifted to teaching kids coding.
Coding, something like what we're doing here.
Yeah, but more kids-centric. So we are focusing on teaching primary school and also secondary school. So what I did there, I teach them Tinker. It's similar to, I think, what do you call it now? Is it Scratch, I think? It's a block coding. Yeah, block coding.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard of that.
Yeah, so that is where we teach kids the fundamentals of basic concepts of programming through block coding in a fun and interactive way. When they reach high school, then we migrate and shifted to text-based coding, so which is Python or JavaScript, but mostly on game development.
Oh, okay.
Right? So I was there for about a year, and then I moved to KL after that.
Was this in Miri back then? Or?
The first 2 jobs was in Miri.
Okay,
yes.
but how come like for high schools is focused on game development? What's the reasoning behind that?
So, in my experience teaching kids, right, if you teach them serious stuff like data science,
Job-ready
stuff, they will feel bored after a few sessions. Game is something where they can interact because after they build a certain module, right, or a certain mechanism, they can actually play it themselves.
They can
Whereas
test
for
it.
web, once you build something, that's about it. You just look at it.
True.
Yeah, that's what I, realized.
Okay, and for your third job, you mentioned in KL?
All right, so at the time it was 2022, post-COVID. So I found a job here in KL, I shifted, and then it's actually a financial firm. So I came in as a full stack developer. At that time, I had no real life experience in coding at all. All right, I just started.
Okay.
And that's actually shortly after I started joining Sigma.
Okay.
Right.
So you did both at the same time, you're balancing half.
Yeah.
Okay. That's very interesting.
It was, how would I say, the time commitment there, it's a bit hard. I had to miss certain weeks or certain sessions in Sigma because I had work that I have to pile up after work hours.
Correct. I definitely agree.
So yeah, it's not that easy.
Okay.
But I managed.
Okay. And how about your current place? That was your third one.
That was my third. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I have 2 more. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, 2 more.
So the third one, I work in Cognizant. It's a BPO company.
Okay. It's quite a big company.
Yeah. So one of the clients that I work for is one of the famous search engines in the world. I can't really say the name, but
okay, no worries.
Be creative. All right. So I was there for almost a year, and then my current company, I'm a senior full stack developer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll leave this for like the next question on what you do there.
Sure.
So let's go into the questions to explore how you got into everything.
Alright.
So the first question, what got you into programming and what sparked your interest in this field? I think you mentioned it just now already. You had it since young, but maybe you could just explain a bit more.
Yeah, let me elaborate more on that. I always have the desire to pursue in tech. To the point when I was in high school, I was thinking of, starting up a mobile company where we create my own smartphones, stuff like that. Yeah. So as I grew older, like what I mentioned earlier, because I couldn't continue my degree in mechanical because I dropped out, I had no other means to continue. Okay, because frankly speaking, if you drop out from an engineering program in one uni, it'll be hard for you to go to another one because they'll question you, are you sure you can do it again? And I get this a lot at the time, and it was very devastating for me.
Correct.
And then my parents had high hope for me at the time because I'm the youngest. So it was a very tough time for me, and that was back in 2019.
A lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure, and I didn't know what to do. So meanwhile, what I did was I was a tennis coach, a part-time tennis coach, while waiting to know what to do. So that's when I think at the time I heard about the Hacker Collective, but I didn't join it at the time. They said you can be a full stack in 3 months, and I was like, it's quite intriguing and quite tempting,
Correct.
Yeah. So what happened was how did it went again? Okay, so what happened was back in 2020 when COVID just struck, I just applied to any internship because I thought, at the time I was still under my uni, although I wasn't still studying. So I thought, why don't I use this opportunity to apply for an internship? So maybe I'll do my best over there, and then hopefully they'll like me and convert me to a full-timer, right? True and true, that really did happen.
Yeah.
All right. But the requirements was longer. I think most internship at the time was 3 months.
3 months,
right?
correct.
It's very rare for you to have 6 months. For me, because I didn't complete my studies, so they had to pull it longer, right? 6 months.
Okay.
So I started off with WordPress at the time. Yeah. So that's for my first job. Yeah. Does that answer all the questions?
Was that how you got into programming?
Yeah, that's how I started.
Okay.
I started with WordPress.
So you started like your first job as in you were kind of lost when you were in uni, and then you're like, okay, let me just try this because it's like COVID hit. Let's just try internship. Okay, that's how you got into programming. But what sparked your interest in that field, or were you not interested at that time and you just wanted to try something new?
Okay, firstly was the redemption, right? Secondly was when I was looking to job street, the salary was quite lucrative at the time.
Correct.
Right? I remember I went through LinkedIn, JobStreet, Glassdoor, and then I see a software developer, it was like 1,000, and I think Java even at the time was 12 to 15. I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So why don't I just learn this through YouTube and then give it a shot. So I think the main factor would be the money.
Yeah, I think not gonna lie, coming from a tech background myself, that was one of the reasons I went in. So for me, it was a bit different. I was playing basketball with my friends. I didn't know what to do, so typical, just go into business, international business. I had no idea what I was going to work as.
Yep.
Then one of my older friends, I think he was like 20 years older than me, he's like, hey, Ken, you like maths and you like computer, right? There's this new thing called data science coming out in 2019. Do you want to try it? I was like, why not, right? I had no idea what I'm doing with my life. So that's how I got into programming. It didn't really spark my interest at all.
At first, is it?
Yeah. Honestly, even now, I'm not a full programmer. I do enjoy doing it from time to time, but I've always been more of a businessy person, more management or talking person. Because while I do enjoy working with computers, I enjoy working with people. So I need a mix of both. So that was a bit for mine. But that's very interesting that you started from WordPress and just through your internships everywhere and you managed to get it. And this was in Singapore?
It was a Singaporean company, but they had a branch in Miri at the time.
Oh,
yeah, they just opened up. So I was lucky because they were quite new. At the time, the requirements wasn't that strict. So they just like take in, okay, you like it? Okay, that's good. I'll give you a chance.
That's very interesting. I think this one is something I really want to hear from you next because everybody is very different. What were some of the biggest challenges you had when you first started programming, and how do you overcome it over the time?
Wow, okay, that's a very big question. I believe everyone can agree with me. Anyone who comes to this field, you have to fake it till you make it. Everyone will know that, right? So at the time, I do know on a surface level certain things like API, what a website is, how does it work, right? But I don't know it in detail or in depth. Um, so the challenge for me was once I get in, they started giving me tasks. Tasks which I know nothing at all, right? What is API? I know what an API is, but I don't know how it works.
Use it, right?
Yeah, how to use it, what are the requirements and stuff. And it was very pressure for me. I had a lot of pressure. It's the kind of pressure when you wake up every morning, you feel it, and you're like, oh man, I have to go to work today. So I experienced that for I think the first 4 months when I first came in.
Of your internship?
Of my internship.
Okay.
Yeah, that was before I get used to it. And I know anyone say, oh, it's just WordPress, there's no code involved. Well,
no, right.
Website is a website, anything can happen, you have to fix it. There's still a bit of programming there, but just script based like PHP, JavaScript, but very minimal. But you still have to know how it works and how to implement it. So what I did to solve this or tackle this was I started to do self-learning because there's a lot of resources on YouTube. Right? We have the W3 School, we have YouTube. So I learned a little bit on JavaScript at first and then PHP. I even went to the extent of buying courses,
Okay.
Like the courses cost 300 and then they guarantee that we can at least know how to do a project. So I did that and that's how I slowly managed to gain confidence because knowledge is power. The more you know, the less scared you are doing the task.
That's very interesting. So like you overcame these challenges this way. I guess the specific strategies you used were like going to YouTube, looking for courses online. Because nowadays anything digital, you can really just search it up and find it. How about, were there any support systems that helped you? Was there any community that you had? Or was there something that you wish that you had when you were there?
Oh, I can share a lot about this.
Okay.
I felt like my path was quite unfortunate. I had no mentor, right? And then in my community, I didn't know anyone who took this field at all. Mostly are traditional engineers or doctors or lawyers or teachers, right? So I don't know who to refer to at the time. And if I'm not mistaken, back in 2019, Developer Kaki just established.
The famous group.
Yeah, so at the time the community was small. So that was one of the ways how I get insights from others. At the time I didn't know Reddit was there, or
Stack Overflow?
Stack Overflow. Yeah, I didn't know it was there.
Okay.
So what happened was I went to a freelancer website, I believe. You know what Superproof is?
No, never heard.
Okay, Superproof is a platform whereby you find tutors online.
Okay.
So it's something like that. So what I did was I paid people to teach me. And not to teach me about coding, but those gray areas in the programming world where no one teach or where you only learn by experience or where a mentor can teach you. So I paid at least something like 200 a month, right? Just for like 2 hours a month to get the time to go through to give me some tips, and that's how I get to know things and be more familiar in the programming or tech world.
Yeah, very honestly compared to, I think back when both of us were studying tech, it's very different now where anything you can just ask AI and most of the time it will find something for you.
I think at the moment, right, when I look at those who started right now, you have a lot of communities right now. There's a lot of the Google events.
Correct.
You have all the other events, and then you have ChatGPT, which is so convenient. And then lastly, you have a lot of. It's easier to get mentors right now. Even right now, I have friends who started coming to IT because I remember back then it was so hard for me to find people. So I do help them.
That's very nice of you.
Yeah, I even help them to get a job, and then they did get a job. So through my recommendations, and I felt proud and also I felt happy because what I had, I'm able to give. What I didn't have back then, I'm able to give right now.
Because you wish you had that, but because you didn't have that, you're like, okay, you know how nice it is for somebody to have this and you want them to have it.
Yes.
That's very, very nice of you. I think that's definitely very aligned with my goal here where I want to, of course, help students get their job in tech and all since I came from there. But also I want to help them build the confidence because imposter syndrome is so strong in tech industry. Exactly. I think I felt it as well. As everywhere I went for my new jobs in the first month, I was like, I'm the worst programmer ever because everybody else around me is just so good. So it's like, not just that, it affects your personal goals as well, like your own life, your motivation. So that's why sometimes, I think the soft skills that you learn along the way, how to stay strong. I'm sure you went through a hard time, but you came back a lot stronger.
Yeah.
That is like so important. And it's hard to teach that. You can tell them a lot. They can learn a lot, but until they go through something,
Correct.
it's different. So it's very nice of you to want to do that for your friends and help them out.
Definitely.
It's a very good feeling, right?
Definitely.
Could you tell me about one project or coding challenge you overcame that you are particularly proud of, and what made it so special for you?
Okay. I think one particular project I can think of was when I was in the financial firm. That was my third job. At the time, I just got off teaching coding to kids and also WordPress, meaning to say I have no professional experience in any kind of front end or back end stack. So when I just got in there, one of the seniors that was there, he changed job. So that particular position was vacant.
The senior position.
The senior position, yeah. So my manager at the time asked, hey, since you've been here for a few months, do you want to take the position instead of taking someone new? Yeah, sure. So they gave me an assessment. I passed the assessment, and then the first day as a senior, they gave me projects to lead. Okay, and I had 2 interns below me at the time. At the time, we had to do a back office for the financial firm, so we need to know the withdrawal, transaction, campaign, and everything. I didn't know anything about that. All right.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed is when it comes to working in a tech company, you need to know 2 things: the business logic of that company, and secondly is the technical aspect of it, like the programming knowledge. If you lack one of these, you'll be in, trouble.
Yeah, I think people overlook the first part a lot. The domain knowledge plays such a big part.
Correct.
Because honestly, as a programmer out of uni myself, I've always struggled with the domain knowledge in the first few months. Because when you work with the data or when you work with the website, they're asking you to build something and they're using all the jargons from the industry. Like,
correct.
What's this? What's that?
Right.
You just don't know anything. Okay.
Maybe,
so was that the project that?
Yeah. Maybe to add on to what you said, maybe one example that I can give is when we have technical knowledge, right? When we learn through YouTube, we learn how to do a to-do list, like a counter app. So technical wise, we know, but when we get to the real world, maybe we need to do e-commerce. So what do we have to think about? Like the withdrawals and the deposits and the balance and financial report. We need to know how the flow works in order for us to actually build it, right? So this was the thing that I was struggling with for the first 2 months, the business logic part. So what I did was I had to ask around the operations team. I need to ask the DM team, the digital marketing team, to explain to me. I even got to the point and ask them, can you spare 30 minutes a day to slowly tell me what are the things that I need to learn regarding this company or the domain of this, the domain knowledge. And they did help me, right? Which I'm very grateful to them. And so once I understand the business logic of what needs to be done, then comes the development process, all right? The architecture planning. So at the time, I had no knowledge at all. Again, I didn't have any formal education at the time, and so it was built on PHP Laravel for the backend.
Okay.
And then the front end was React, right? So again, I wasn't that good at the time, and it was a very crazy month for me at the time. So what I had to do was I had to go through some resources, and then I hustle. I struggle. I mean, I really grind. Sorry, yeah, I really grind. So 9 to 6 was my work, and then 6 until 12 or 1, I did a lot of exercises. And one thing that I can say, if you want to be good in programming, the only way is to practice and to continuously learn. So that's the only solution for me at the time. I have no other way. I have no senior to tell me. Even my manager, he technical wise, he have not that strong.
Yeah.
So I can't ask him those kind of questions. So I have to go around. So after 2 months of struggling, after I learned what API is, I learned how to initiate the project. I learned about GitHub. I learned how to do the server side, develop it, and then the front end as well. I managed to do it alone. Okay, and that 3 months was a very painful 3 months, but it was a very satisfying 3 months for me as well, because out of that suffer and learning, I was able to create a back office for the company, right, for them to operate and continuously track whatever reports and financial reports that is needed by them. And it's something, it's an achievement for me. So yeah.
Wow, that's actually very special. Was this when you already were with Sigma back then, or was it before you joined Sigma at that
That
time?
was when I'm already with Sigma, but I was on and off at the time.
Because of how busy it was, a lot of
Yeah.
self-study, and you got to balance this here and there.
Yeah.
But I think, like Sebastian, one thing that really stood out for me, that every single, not just developer, anywhere you work, you need to learn this is, don't be afraid to ask. The moment you just fake it and you don't want to ask, you don't learn, you're probably gonna struggle even more. Like, what do you think could have happened if you did not go and ask?
So let me just share my POV, my point of view, because we already fake it, right, to make it. So they're gonna think that, oh, he's the expert already. So if I ask, then it's contradicting to what I said to them initially. So that eagerness there is a hindrance to my progress at the time. But then it was a hard lesson for me, a lesson learned for me that regardless how good you are, how long you've been doing programming, asking is always essential. Okay, it could save you 1 week of exploring yourself, but if you ask, you could have known in 5 minutes.
Correct.
That's a scenario for me for that one.
I think especially for my own company as well, when I was a junior, the biggest trade-off was like I want to be independent, I want to learn by myself, right?
Yes, exactly.
And I don't want to ask. But at what moment should I ask? If I'm going to delay my project by 1 week,
That's true.
I need to ask. I can't be because I'm scared. I don't want to disturb my senior.
That's true.
Which is exactly what my senior. I was quite fortunate to get a very good company before this. So my seniors at company told me, don't ask me until you research, but ask me when you're taking too long. So that was one of the best advices I got, and they gave me a lot of feedback on that as well. So like when I try to talk to some students or share some stories like yours, this is something that hopefully we can share it to the audience, and maybe if you're not doing it already or you want to teach your juniors, this is something I really try to implement, especially with my staff here at Sigma School. It's fine if you don't know, but it's not fine if you don't try and you ask me. Yeah, so always try. And
I think going back to the topic of asking, right? One thing I realized from working for the past 5 years is 3 things. If you don't know the requirements of the project, if you don't have the business logic knowledge and the technical knowledge, if you don't know any one of these 3, or at least the first 2, you have to ask. Because if you don't know what is needed from the task, how can you do it? Right? So that's something I learned in my current job actually, to ask. Of course, initially you have to do your research and then try if, whatever method that you've done, you couldn't get the answer, then you ask. But don't take too long. Give yourself some time, maybe 3 hours.
Yeah.
If after 3 hours you can't do it, then you ask. At least you have done something, and then you tell them, oh, I've done this and so, but I still can't find the answer. Do you have any idea how to solve this? So,
yeah, I think they are happy with that because they see you put in effort rather than just 3 minutes. Hi senior, sorry, I don't know.
Yeah.
But they see, oh, he struggled. He came up with a document. You show me your research, and then you ask why. I think that's the most important. So yeah, very good point, and that's a very special project that you overcame by yourself. It must have been really hard, but I think at the end of it, I think just very similar actually, like how 3 months, all our students go through 3 months at a bootcamp as well. The end result is very fulfilling because you're like, I can build the entire thing from scratch, and I couldn't do it before.
That's true.
So another thing I actually just shared with our students today during graduation is mindset is so important. The first part you need to believe is you need to believe in yourself that you can do it. So like how to fake it till you make it is fake it till you make it because you know you will make it in the end. If you're going to fake it and not think you can make it, it probably wouldn't work as well. You actually need to kind of believe that you will reach there.
Yeah.
And then you are just at the point, oh, I've already made it. I did not know when I got here, but I made it. So I'm sure that's where you are right now as well, right? Like you made it, you're a senior right now.
Yep.
So it's like,
just a disclaimer, when I say fake it to make it, I didn't mean you totally don't know anything about the topic. It's you may have certain knowledge or to a just surface level. It's just that by a certain period, you need to make sure that you really know it. Maybe after a month, you actually know it. So not you don't know and then you just get in
Of course. Sweet. Okay, next one. Currently, you're employed as a senior software developer, correct?
Yep.
How do you land your current job, and can you share with us any key moments from your job search and interview process?
It's a very heavy question.
Many heavy questions over here.
Okay, perhaps I go with the one previous to this job. Okay, it was with Cognizant. Right? So Cognizant is it's an MNC, right? It's a very large company, and to get in is very hard. So actually, when I was in the financial firm, which was when I was struggling with that BO earlier that I mentioned. They headhunted me. It was February this year. Okay.
Oh, okay. Last year.
Oh, sorry, last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, February last year. Yeah. So I had to go through 6 levels, or actually 5 levels.
Oh.
Okay. And out of that 5 levels, 2 were technical interview, right? Because the clients that we're working for is not a small client, right? It's quite a renowned client.
All the big boys.
Yeah, the big boys, right?
Yeah.
So we have to really know our stuff, and they have to make sure, they have to vet and make sure that we know at least to a certain point. So at first I got a call, they called me and then asked, about my background, what is my experience. After that, I didn't know if I got it, but the next day they said, all right, you passed the first stage. All right, that's good. Second stage would be the first technical interview. That was, I believe, was with my ex-manager. And he was really grinding me on the logics of JavaScript, right? Like really in depth, like how does API works, all those cross-origin, stuff, and then how higher components, higher functions work, on all those. And what I did, okay, it was a very funny thing. What I did was, I opened my laptop. Half of the screen was ChatGPT, half the screen was the interview questions, right? So of course, the ones that I know, I can just answer confidently and smoothly. Right?
Was this done online or?
It was done online.
Okay.
Luckily, it was done online, right? So when it came to the more advanced question, right? So what I did was I told them, can you give me a moment? I need to recall back, right? So I believe the question was, it was regarding APIs and its behavior. Okay?
Yeah.
At the time, I wasn't so familiar with it, so I just quickly prompt a question, and then they said, "Are you reading from something?" I said, "Oh no," because the camera was on.
You
So
can
I
see
said,
your eyes, right?
They can see my eyes,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, I had to do another prompt. So what I did was I prompt, give me the answer in keywords or key points. Right?
Okay.
So instead of reading a sentence, if I see a key point, then I can just add on to that
Elaborate.
word, right? So that's what I did. That technical interview took about, I think, 30 to 45 minutes. Yeah. And I'm gonna admit, I admit that I wasn't able to answer all of the questions, but I felt I was able to answer at least 70 to 80% of the questions asked.
That's quite big already,
Right.
actually.
So after the interview, I was like, oh, I don't think I get it. And then the next day, they called me, all right, that first technical interview was okay, but we need to ask you, you need to go for another round, which is next week. And make sure you know about React. Oh my goodness. Okay. So at the time, all right, okay, I have 1 week to prepare.
Study.
Yeah. So when it came to the next one, luckily what I studied, what I learned is what they asked me. For example, what are JSX, what are the states, how to use the states in React, what are the routers, Redux and stuff like that. I was able to answer. Luckily, there are no live coding. If it was a live coding interview, I think I'll just leave it.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I think I had a similar experience. Honestly speaking, now that I've been through it, I've talked to a lot of our hiring partners here at Simang School. So back when I was in my interview with the company I was with previously, I really wanted to join the company because the manager there really inspired me. After I failed my interview at the company for the first time, he actually told me the reasons I failed. He gave me a long list and we kept in touch for a year. I applied back a year later and skipped to the final interview actually.
Okay.
So I went to present. But some of the presentation, I was just like faking it till I make it. He was like, as a data scientist, you got to know what's the correlation, which I think you sort of know, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's fine. I knew that. That's like, okay, so what is the causality from that? Do you know what the causality means?
I'm not that familiar.
Yeah, exactly. When I was there, like, causality, this is the first time in my life I've heard that word. And this was a live interview. I was sitting right in front of him. I was standing up presenting everything.
Okay.
I just gave him some answer and thankfully it was correct. But I guess as an interviewer myself now, or maybe you interview some people nowadays, you can sort of tell. They just don't know. They're just saying it for the sake of saying it. So the hiring partner actually told me, the recent one, if you don't know, we actually prefer if you tell us you don't know and ask us how you do it. So now if I do go for interview, I'll probably do that instead, honestly speaking.
I have one experience to share regarding that.
Okay.
But before that, when it comes to interview, right, I think it's also luck at the same time. Because sometimes you want to impress them, right? So you might not say something that is correct.
Correct.
Right? I think there was one time he was asking me about data structures. And then instead of explaining what the data structure is, I sort of explained what OOP was at the time, right? And he was like, "You don't know data structure, do you?" And yeah, it was crazy for me. And he asked me certain questions, and he said straight up to my face, "I think you're not right fit for this position. Thanks for applying." Wow, man, it gave me goosebumps.
Yeah,
at
man.
that time.
Because usually it's not so quick or direct like that, right? Yeah.
But usually when they know stuff, they will be more direct. If they're nice, you most likely get it. In my experience.
Yeah.
And then going on to that one, to be honest with them, there was one time I applied for an Australian company. So it was a remote job, you know. And he was saying, okay, you're applying for a CPO, or not CPO, I think it was a lead position. And then he said you have to know certain things. So he gave me a list of things, cloud computing, and then DevOps, and then he gave me a test. I didn't know a single thing he asked me. I think he was asking me about Gatsby.js because it was a headless server for WordPress, but the front end is coding, right? He asked me a lot of questions about it, and I tell him, "Sir, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know all this, and I don't think I'm good for this position that you offered me. So I'm going to be honest with you. I don't want to waste your time. I believe this position is better for another person." And you know what he answered me?
What did he answer?
That's the kind of person we want. I was so shocked, you know.
Yeah.
I thought when I said I don't know, he would straight up reject me. But he said, that's the kind of person we want. All right, we'll wait for the next interview. We want someone who is honest and truthful. If you say you don't know, you don't know. But then you learn. So yeah, it was a weird experience.
Shocker, right? Yeah. I think we accidentally went into the next question while we were talking, because the next question is actually, what advice would you give somebody who wants to be a software developer? And are there any insights you had known when you were starting out? But since we're already talking, I'll leave this to the editor to cut and he can figure out by himself.
Sure.
Thanks, Duffy. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. Like, for me personally, when I hire somebody, while I do know you need to have certain level of skills, your personality to me is a lot more important.
That's very important.
Because you can teach skills, but teaching personality is so hard, honestly speaking.
It's a hit or miss kind of thing.
Yeah. So how did that job go for you? Do you end up getting it, or is that your current job?
No, it wasn't. I didn't get it at the end.
Okay.
Because one point that he mentioned, I like that this recruiter or the guy who interviewed me, because he told me what were the things that why I didn't get it. Number one, he said I didn't have confidence. Instead of saying I couldn't do it, I should have said, although I don't know, but I'm willing to learn. If you're open with that, then I would like to go and hand in hand with you and explore. I could have said that, thinking back.
That's one of my favorite answers to hear, actually.
Yeah, and I believe recruiters nowadays, they know you don't know to a certain degree, but they're willing to give you a chance.
Of course.
All right, and then secondly, what's the question again?
The question is, what advice would you give to somebody who wants to be a software developer? Since I think many people here at our school are transitioners, just like you yourself. So, what advice and what insights do you wish you knew when you were doing it back then?
Okay, definitely be more confident, and then be honest. Right, don't try to fake it too much. Okay, and just prepare. Right, just prepare. Make sure you, even though whatever they ask you in interview, you can't answer. You'll never know what you learn. They just ask. Right?
Yeah. I think I just want to add one more advice. So every interview you fail is actually a lesson you learn, but you need to ask for feedback. So the reason I actually got into the previous company I really want to get into, they're actually quite a big company here in Malaysia. I won't say the name, but I asked the feedback from the hiring manager. Not only was he very nice, he was one of the smartest persons I've ever met, even up to today. So he's really somebody that I look up to. I still keep in touch with him every now and then. So I think it's very important to ask for feedback, because you learn a lot more when you fail compared to when you actually succeed. And I think that goes back to what we had a lot of our talks earlier. The times where we were failing and failing, that's what brought us to the success itself.
That's true.
So being open to feedback, and I like how you said, be honest, be confident.
Yeah.
And they need to know, you can be honest and confident that you don't know. You don't have to be egoistic and like, I know this, I'm confident I can do it. Because it's very different and people can read the energy around you.
It's not just being optimistic or cliche, failure leads to success, but it's actually true. If you think about it, I learn more in my failed interviews than the one that I passed. Yeah.
Because when you pass, you just get the job.
Yeah, you don't know what you did right, what you did wrong.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
So what insights do you wish you had known when you were first starting out?
If I were to go back in time in 2020, I would apply to a lot of companies. Because at the time, as long as you blurt up some keywords of programming or you know something, it's easier to get in. Right now, most of the job descriptions are they want seniors, and it's tougher. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's tougher to get it compared to back then. So if I were to have an advice to myself back in 2020, would be to have more confidence and to just apply and learn more, practice more. Yeah.
Thanks for the answer. That's very true. Couldn't have said it any better, honestly.
Thanks.
How do you stay updated with new technologies and industry trends nowadays? Since we mentioned like back then, you can just build out some words. Now you gotta know AI, you gotta know LLM, you gotta know all your programming stuff.
This is actually something that I'm struggling with at the moment.
Okay.
I believe anyone who's in the IT world, right, in the tech world, you're always struggling with continuous learning, right? For example, about React, right? So all this while, when I started learning, it was React 16, I believe, 16. And then when the newer version came out, some things are deprecated and then some things are added into it. Even the current one that just came out, right, Tailwind 4.0 and also React 19, a lot of things will change, right? And I have to keep learning. And what are the things that change? What are the new methods or ways for us to use certain components or state or hook? And it can be very tiring. But what I do is I do micro learning. So I have this Instagram channel that I follow, and every day they will post, for example, like how to use state, how to use effect, what are the best practices. So whenever I'm bored, instead of scrolling weird videos, I will be just scrolling programming facts or concepts. So that's one of the ways how I keep myself updated.
That's very interesting. Definitely, the new technology in tech, it's really a never-ending cycle of learning. So there's always that funniest joke that you see online. Deploy your code on Friday, come back on Monday and nothing is working anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
that's true.
While we always say it's a joke, I think the amount of times, I'm not sure how many times you got it, but I got it a couple of times as well. Because they just updated the version and the Python version just changed. So they deprecated the old code and I couldn't run it anymore after that. So
I think aside from our own personal experience, the one famous incident last year was the CrowdStrike.
yes,
Right?
that was
Global outage.
That was very, very big. So that's why you got to stay updated with the newest technologies and latest trends.
Exactly.
I mean, if you do struggle with that, don't be afraid because everybody else is struggling with you. So
That's true.
Yeah.
Just know you're not alone.
Definitely not alone. Okay, next question. Currently, in your current role, what challenges are you currently facing and how are you tackling them?
I believe the challenges that I'm facing is when you do a certain task, right, and then you repeat it, over and over, you get better at it, right? So when that happens, and then you have a newer task, so to a certain extent, you reach a certain a plateau, right? A limit to how much it can be challenging for you and how much you can learn. So I think one challenge for me is how do I keep myself useful or updated to my company? Like to how much more can I offer? For example, in terms of web development, I know front end and back end and then database a tidbit. But nowadays the trends is evolving, right? Now we're hearing AI, cloud computing. So we are moving from having on-prem server, we need to migrate them into cloud server, and then now web 3.0, right?
Yeah, 4.0 now.
Right.
I'm not too sure.
3.0 is the old one. I think the new one is 4.0 where you have AI. So AI integrated is something you have to learn. You need to know LLM. You need to know how to integrate AI API. And then this kind of things is a challenge because you need to know, otherwise you'll be left out. So in my workplace, this is one of the major, struggles or challenge that I'm facing even till today.
And how do you tackle them, or do you have any plan to go against them, or you're still in the middle of finding out?
The good thing is when you're in a company, right, you tend to know what is lacking. So when you know what is lacking, that can be an opportunity for you. And from there, once you identify what is the thing that you can fix, then you have to learn, for example, AI. So maybe one very good example that I can think of is if you are a digital agency, right? Mostly you have to do cold calling or you cold texting or cold emailing, right? What if I tell you if you can integrate AI instead of having a human, AI can do it for you,
Recurringly.
every week, daily, So that could save in manpower. At the same time, it could, how to say, upgrade your company and reduce the financial costs. Yeah, so these are one of the examples that we can implement, but it's something I'm personally trying to introduce as well. But my challenge is how do I get there?
Yeah, I think what you just said is very, very interesting, because let me just share with you something about Sigma School. I don't know if I can say this in the podcast, but if they can't, they can cut it out.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important that you use AI to automate the AI task, because
Definitely.
human brain, you can use it to do so many more creative things. You can come up with ideas and all.
Yep.
So what you mentioned exactly, cold calling, emails, automation, that's exactly what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
So there is this new thing, not sure if you heard of it before, it's called AI agents. Have you heard of it before?
That's what I'm doing. Actually,
Yes, exactly.
Like
So-
N8 and all those.
Correct,
right?
correct. So personally, I'm supposed to research that as well. I haven't really had much time.
We're in the same boat.
So
then.
yeah, we're in the same boat. I'm exactly in the same problem as you. So thankfully, my boss Derek, he does the research and he summarizes it for me, because he says I'm taking too slow sometimes. So my job to implement that and to automate everything, it's a big challenge, because it's so new, but it's so necessary as it's evolving, and we want to reduce the manpower needed for this kind of like, tedious stuff, calling,
Correct,
emailing,
correct.
following up.
Repetitive,
So,
right?
yeah, it's definitely challenging. How I'm going to tackle them, I think similar to you. Just gotta probably grind it out, find out a way,
Yeah.
trial and error. But it's definitely interesting times with these AI agents coming around.
Maybe if any one of us got something we can share with each
Of
other.
course, definitely. That's a very good idea. Okay, next question. I'm going to add on another more personal question, but for next question first.
Okay, sure.
How do you see your career path evolving in the next few years? Are there any specific goals or milestones you're aiming for? CTO, lead engineer?
I used to have big goals when I first started this industry. you
Okay.
know. My goal used to work in a was to work in a FANG company,
Okay.
right? All the companies there, and because one of the reason is the remuneration, it's definitely lucrative.
Correct.
Secondly, are the perks, right? When I was in Cognizant, as a vendor to those companies, right, you already have a certain perk. Imagine if you are the direct employee,
Correct.
how much more do you have, right? So definitely, I had a taste of that, and it makes me want to go there more. But it's not easy, right? You have to compete with millions of people in the application.
And the best of the best.
Exactly,
Yeah.
from Ivy Leagues and all those. It's not easy, but it's not impossible at the same time. So wait, what's the question again?
Where do you see your career path
wait,
evolving?
okay, all right. So I do see myself as a programmer coming up from a junior to a senior, and then later on to a team lead. I'm hoping maybe when I'm 40-ish, I would like to transition to being a consultant, tech consultant. And in my 50s or 60s, I actually look into it. I want to be a lecturer.
Oh.
You imagine like you have those lecturers where they have no industrial experience at all. So
Yeah.
all their years they are just academia, right? So to me it's boring, because I've been in the situation. Oh, he's just a teacher. I mean, he's a lecturer from a degree, master's, PhD. All he does is following syllabus. But I've met lecturers where they came from MNCs and they had real world experience. When they share in class, right, I get interested in that subject because
It's
what they
crazy.
share are interesting.
Yeah.
So I want to be that kind of lecturer. That's why I want to be in this industry first, and then later on transition to a lecturer.
So, do you want to be a lecturer in a uni, or will you be interested in a bootcamp as well? That's the question. That's an extra question, impromptu question. Because in the bootcamp here, at least in Sigma School,
Yep.
we're always like, we teach you job-ready skills, we teach you soft skills, we teach you what to do in the workplace. So I think that's exactly what you actually want to teach, right? Not just teaching the entire theory
Yeah,
without
that's
giving
correct.
the relevant
Yeah.
experience.
I want to give inspiration to people through my journey and see if they spark some interest to them in this field. So that's the main goal, regardless of it's a formal uni or even a bootcamp. I'm actually a current external trainer in the bootcamp as well right
okay.
now. Yeah.
As for coding, teaching coding as well?
Yeah, it's a full stack. So it's converting those who are from other industry who are interested to come over to the IT world. Yeah, so in that, it's also 3 months as well, where I try my best to give them hand-picked topics and also syllabus for them to be prepared in this.
For full stack, right?
For full stack.
Okay, that's very interesting. That's a very interesting career path you have actually, from going into tech, into consultancy, into education after that actually.
Yeah.
So are there any specific goals or milestones you're aiming for?
Right now, I'm trying to get into a FANG company, even if it's not in the core team like in the States. But if it's somewhere near, I think the nearest for a FANG in
Singapore.
Correct. Yeah. So that is my goal in the near future, within the 3 years. So why I like FANG companies is the tasks of the language that they work on are, for example, C++, Java, C#, all those, because they build frameworks, right? But if you work in maybe a smaller company, you use their products like React, Vue, Angular, and it's always changing. You don't see C# change as frequent as this one, right?
They keep it a legacy all the time.
Yes. So that's one of the reasons why I want to go to FANG, and also the perks and the remuneration.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's one thing about the future of software development or technology that excites you the most?
At how convenient it is for you to learn and get into it. Compared to back then, right, 20 years ago, it's very hard. You need to really have interest in this and really struggle and grind. But nowadays, you can just ask ChatGPT, you can prompt some questions and ask stupid questions, which we ask our colleagues and senior, but you don't get negative feedback from ChatGPT.
Yeah, you don't get any bad aura or bad looks as well.
The kind of question also you want to ask, is it? You don't get that kind of stuff.
Definitely. It's very, I don't think just even 20 years back, like it's 2025 now, right? 5 years back, 2020, during COVID, I think ChatGPT didn't actually exist back then, right?
Yeah, but then we still have the concept of bootcamp, right? But 20 years ago, we don't even have such
Correct.
Yeah.
It's definitely very rare. Okay, that's actually all the questions for the team, but I'll have an extra question I want to ask.
Oh, okay.
So on top of this career path, on top of this software development, what's sort of your personal goal that you want to achieve?
Can you give an example?
Okay, I guess for mine, I think I've shared it with all the students, so it's actually public as well. So I recently started guitar last year. So I want to create content for guitar on social media and share it with people that like the same kind of music as I do. Because personally, I like Japanese music or Korean or Asian music, and it's very hard to find covers of them, instrumental covers of them online. So that's my personal goal, to be able to do that within hopefully this year or maybe next year. So that's sort of the kind of goal I'm talking about.
I see. For me, I like cultural things, right? I've always liked the idea of introducing my own culture, because I'm Kenya. It's a tribe in Sarawak.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you've seen, maybe you can search it up, Orang Ulu. So we have all these beads costume.
Oh, okay.
Right, it's quite nice. And then we have, as you can see, so we have the sape, which is our traditional instrument.
Okay.
And the food is also quite unique. So I always want to be able to, create an awareness of my tribe, whether it be through creating my own website and make sure people know. So it's like a gallery sort of thing, and then they can even buy, merchandise or even traditional things, right? So at the same time, I also have a goal of opening sort of like a concept restaurant here.
In KL area.
In KL, yeah.
Okay.
Because when they ask me, what race are you? And I say Kenya. No one knows what's that.
Yeah.
So I want them to have some sort of awareness. At the same time, I want them to experience my culture as well. So one of my goals is to open like a concept restaurant where it replicates or simulates the environment in Sarawak, where you have like a wooden shed, like a longhouse, and then when you go outside, you have like a waterfall. Something like a Japanese concept.
I would go there straight away.
Right?
Yeah.
So
to our editor, please add in all these photos inside. Go check it out. And when his restaurant is open, he'll let us know and we'll promote it for him here.
Oh, definitely.
But yeah, that's a really amazing goal. Because like I have seen this, especially like back in my high school days, they do teach this. I think they
in
teach
moral,
it a bit.
right?
Yeah.
I think I know it's civics, in Pendidikan Civic.
Yeah, definitely one of it, because they teach all the tribes in Sabah and Sarawak as well. And like I've always thought it looks so cozy.
It is.
Because there are certain places like in Malaysia or like a bit further away from KL that you actually eat in the lake. The food.
Yes.
Yeah. I think you probably know which I'm talking about, because it's quite famous.
No, not really.
Let me just quickly check here and but like this kind of concept is very nature.
Right.
It's very unique.
It's different from what we always have in the city right here.
Yeah.
It's always aesthetics and modern
Buildings,
designs and stuff like that. But once in a while, from all the stress, especially from coding, or not just coding, or anything that
In
makes you
life,
stress,
right?
you want greenery, you want green pastures, and
Correct.
of course you want healing, right? People say healing nowadays. So yeah, this is exactly one of the concepts that I also want to introduce, but specifically towards my tribe, Sarawak. Yeah.
Okay. So any near plans for that, or not so near?
Not so near,
Okay.
but within 10 years.
Okay, I'll look forward to that. Nice. Okay. So let's wrap up. So thank you very much, Sebastian, for coming here to the interview with us today.
Yep.
So coming all the way from Sarawak, Miri,
Yep.
and like your journey as an engineer back then, and you dropped out of uni, moving into software tech, getting an internship, getting all the experience, going through all the hardship, no mentorship, nothing.
Yep.
It was really nice to talk to you. Really nice to hear your story. It's a very unique story. Every time I talk to every single student, so far I've talked to a refugee before, and another one's a piano teacher. And like now you're from Sarawak and you were an engineering dropout. So everybody is very different. So it's very interesting. So maybe do you want to give any last words, any like closing remarks from your side?
Sure. I think for those who's trying to come into this industry, IT or tech, all I can say is don't give up, keep on grinding, and you will receive the fruits of your labor. Okay? Many a times why we don't see success stories is most of the time they stop halfway and they do something else. So for those who want to, really grab the money here, definitely suffer more, do more practice, and it'll be worth it at the end.
Yeah, just go all in for your goals. You don't do it half-ass.
Go big or go home.
Yeah, go big or go home. So thank you very much, Sebastian. So we have a gift for you actually. If you just want to open it and you can just show it to the camera as well.
Sure, thanks.
So just open it, show it to the camera, and we'll take a screenshot together.
My version of unboxing.
So just open it and show the logo.
Alright.
Okay. So this is the screenshot. Thank you. Thanks so much for coming, man.
Alright, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Let me just go pause the video.